Good evening, welcome. This is Joy Prime and this is Sports Zone, live until 10 p.m. And tonight on the show, we take a dive into the abyss and paint a picture of a darkness that has engulfed Ghana football for the last 16 months. It's been months and months of disappointing performances from our various national teams. What possibly could be the reason? That's what we'll be looking at today. And of course, we'll be looking at the people who have been in charge of our football for the last 4 years, the promises they have made, and whether or not they've made good on those promises. That's what we're looking at tonight on the show. It's live and interactive on social media, so do join us on the WhatsApp number 055 1 57 57 57, 0551 57 57 57, or if you prefer Twitter, which is my preferred mode of getting in touch, the hashtag is Sports Zone. So use that hashtag, Sports Zone. I'll read your messages and share them with the rest of our viewers from across the continent. This show, of course, is proudly brought to you by Syntex Tank. A tough, a strong, whatever variety of water tanks you need, Syntex Tanks has it. They have all the guarantees and the warranties that you need, and they have all the different sizes and the different layers that you require. Personally, use a Syntex tank. I've never regretted it. So do make sure if you're getting a water tank, it is a Syntex tank. Also, Hunters, of course, with a variety of Hunters flavors in the market, whether it's for a cool day or a hot day, do grab a bottle of Hunters and enjoy the coolness and the freshness of the Hunters drinks, range of drinks, in fact. Another product, of course, from Casa Preco Company Limited. What we will do is take a very short break. When we come back, we have a lot to unpack on the show tonight. Welcome back to Sports Zone on Joy Prime. I'm Fento Tahiru Fento, of course. Joining me on the show tonight, Daniel Cranting and Sichufe Philip Atrim. Guys, welcome to the show.
You've left the desk for us.
Yeah, I've left the desk for you. But I'll join you pretty shortly.
Right.
Because tonight we are on a truth-seeking mission, okay? And this is where I like to begin from, all right? From a very interesting quote from 2019, posted by the GFA president, Keto Kreku himself. This was posted on his Twitter page in July 2019. This was exactly 1 month after the Anas expose. Okay, so context is everything. It's extremely important. And he posted an image accompanying the quote, and it's from Plato, the famous Greek philosopher. And he says, "No one is more hated than he who speaks the truth." And my favorite thing about this was what accompanied it, the caption that accompanied it from Ket himself. And he says, "Being honest is the only way." Being honest about our football in 2019 and 2023 is the only way. And I perfectly agree. So we have to be truthful, because truth never hurts a just cause. If the truth hurts you, then it means your cause is unjust. And as youth, it is our duty to speak the truth, to challenge corruption. To speak the truth is to be patriotic. Patriotism doesn't mean being loyal to the FA president. It means being loyal to the country. That's what patriotism is. And it would be very unpatriotic if you don't oppose the FA president if he's inefficiently running the country or the country's football. And if you support him when he's doing an efficient job, that in itself is also patriotism. But ultimately, we owe it to ourselves to speak the truth. Because integrity is speaking truth to myself. But honesty is speaking truth to the people. And I know what you all think about our football. So if you're not afraid to think it, then don't be afraid to say it. And that's why I'm here, to speak the truth. The only way that our football can get back. And this is extremely important. Okay? And I'm speaking the truth tonight because our football is on its dying legs. And if the football dies, it's not only going to affect the over 70,000 registered footballers in this country who are directly employed by the football ecosystem, but even us as journalists. I had the opportunity to cover my first ever World Cup in Qatar 2022. If this football collapses and we don't qualify for the next World Cup, which at the moment is looking like a realistic chance, I would never be able to cover a World Cup again. Daniel Cranton has never covered a World Cup. If he don't go to 2026, he will never cover a World Cup. It affects his career. He's never been to an AFCON. If we don't go to the next AFCON, which has a realistic chance of happening, he may never cover the African Cup of Nations. And that's why this means everything to us as journalists, as it should to you, the fans. And Ghana football has given us unprecedented moments of happiness. I remember when we first qualified for the World Cup in 2006, the unbridled joy in the faces of people. We lost to Brazil in the round of 16, but we gave the players a hero's welcome. You know why? Because they played with pride and made the country proud. We actually took pride in the fact that we outplayed the Brazilians. We said, oh, we played better than them. That's the pride of the Ghanaian. Today, we cannot say that of our football. In the last 16 months alone, we have witnessed unprecedented, catastrophic failures involving our national teams. Unprecedented is what I'm talking about. Never happened before. Look at the numbers in our football industry. 1,000 players in the Premier League, 2,000 in Division 1, 43,000 in Division 2 and 3, and a further 23,000 in juvenile football. Ghana's unemployment rate now hovers between 3.5% and 10%. If you add 70,000 more young men and women into those numbers, you know the kind of pressure it puts on social amenities? Do you understand the impact of that on crime? And that's why it is essential that our football succeeds. And that's why I'm going to go with this. Now, it started in January 2022. Ghana crashed out after a shock loss to Comoros. And that shock, many people have still not recovered. This tournament was the worst AFCON tournament in the history of Ghana. We had crashed out of group stages of AFCON tournament before, but never in the history of the competition have we crashed out without winning a game. Unwanted history. And look at the results. And even before this Morocco game, we played a friendly match against Algeria. We were embarrassed 3-0. Then we lost to Morocco. Then we drew against Gabon. We lost to Comoros. And pay attention to the teams we are losing against. We crashed out Porto. It was that bad. At this tournament, we spent over $4 million in return for what? Exactly. We got used to losing. After the tournament, we played friendly games. We went to Japan, got whipped 4-1. Who doesn't remember in 2007, after the 2006 World Cup, we went on an Asia tour. We beat Japan, beat South Korea, beat everybody. That was the Black Stars. We went to Brazil. We faced Brazil. We lost 1-0. People were proud. We recently played a friendly game against Brazil. We lost 3-0. And the explanation was, but it's Brazil. Did you expect to beat Brazil? You move it on. And then in May 2022, under 20 qualifying, we went to Niger as defending champions. African defending champions of the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations, looking to qualify in a group of 3 teams. We lost to Nigeria in the opening game and we got beaten by Burkina Faso. We crashed out with 0 points, bottom of the group, defending champions, embarrassed. In June, Black Satellites. We have never qualified for the Under-17 Since 2017, we're going on 8 years. The first time we hosted the competition here, seeking to qualify. It was in Cape Coast with 3 teams in the group. And look at the results. In our first game, we lost 4-2 against Nigeria. We did recover to beat Togo, but in the semi-finals, which team again? Burkina Faso. You're telling me that Burkina Faso are doing football better than Ghana? Just before I came on air, the people trooping into Pusiga, refugees running to Ghana. There was no safe harbor in their own country. And they are the ones that are doing football better than us. And then after the game, and look at one of the reasons that was given for why we lost. 2 weeks to the tournament, that's when the GFA president ordered an MRI test on the players. And 20 out of 28 players who were at the competition failed the MRI test 2 weeks to the competition. These players had been camping in the country for more than 1 month. Nobody in their right wisdom thought, let's do this test and make sure that the players that we have are players that are qualified to play in this competition. You understand me? Are players who are qualified to play in this competition. Nobody. Except 2 weeks to the competition. That's when we needed to do this. The sheer incompetence of that alone is inexplicable. Makes zero sense. And then you follow that up. In December, we went to the World Cup. Well, everybody knows the story of the World Cup. I don't want to stay there. We won 1 game, but dear Lord, in that game against South Korea, if you had a pregnant wife who was close to labor, they would have given birth. Because of the sheer pressure we suffered in the last 15 minutes of that game. That is not how we play football. One of the worst performances I've ever seen of any Black Stars team. We were leading for majority of that game, but we were never comfortable. What's the name of that Korean striker? Every ball, Panyai. It was unbelievably poor. It was like we didn't have coaches on the bench. That's our national team. That's the Black Stars of Ghana. We waited 12 years for a revenge against Uruguay. Only to get embarrassed again. Personally, this hurt more than surgery. It was incredibly poor. And then you move it on, Black Galaxies. These are the local Black Stars. We had never qualified for the CHAN tournament since 2014. This was the first time we're making the competition. In 9 years, we went there and we got beaten by Madagascar. We beat Sudan, and then FA officials were seen in the video singing, I know my level. I know my level. Your level is beating Sudan? That's what you're excited about? Let's set proper targets for ourselves. Are we not ashamed? And look, we got to the quarterfinal, and it is Niger that have eliminated us. So Burkina Faso, Comoros, Niger, these are the countries eliminating Madagascar. Think about that. These are the countries eliminating us from major competitions now. And you think our football is not dead? The Black Meteors are the ones that have brought us here. Just ended competition. The worst football I have ever seen in my entire life. And listen, I played a football game where we lost 13-0. But it was not this bad. In that tournament. I played in that game, 90 minutes. We lost 13-0. But it wasn't this bad. At least we outpossessed the opponent. We could string a few passes together. Cranting and I were doing 1-2s. These players couldn't do 2 or 3 passes. I'm not saying it. John said it himself. And if there's anyone that is in a better position to tell us that players can't put passes together, it is someone like Asamoah Gyan, a legend like him. And listen to the outbursts from all of our ex-players. Jan is complaining. Ajibambadu is complaining. Deribwati is complaining. Everybody is complaining. And when you talk, people think that it is personal. The results, we're embarrassed. the deputy sports minister, went on a tour of the Moroccan FA's football facility. He came and granted an interview where he was crying. But you see, there are crocodile tears because he knows, but he won't do. What has he done? Are you telling me that this is the first time the deputy sports minister has seen a world-class sporting facility? And the people who are responsible for this, the Ghana Football Association, they are the decision makers. Because the Kroku came into power in 2019. It's just not personal. He made promises. These are his promises of what he will do with our World Cup money. He said he will set up a World Cup benefit fund. Where is the fund? That fund is non-existent. He has not done it. And this is how he wanted to allocate it. 60% to clubs, 10% to GALCA, 5% to Coaches Association, 10% to PFAG, 5% to Referees Association, 5% to Juvenile and Coast Football. All of that money has not come because that fund is non-existent. You don't make promises you can't fulfill. He said he will set up a central fund. There is no central fund as we speak. And this was the thing that the central fund was supposed to do. Where will it satisfy? It's a proceeds from FIFA Forward. The FIFA Forward money is in. We have used some of the money to construct an AstroTurf, for example, in Winkogo. It is part of the money we are using to construct boreholes. $250,000 of the FIFA Forward money has been allocated to constructing boreholes across the country. And I like the idea of boreholes, and I'll get to that briefly. But if you use FIFA Forward money to construct one facility in Winkogo, last week, I saw a story. The facility was named after Ket Okreku. You have gone for FIFA money. You have come to construct a facility in a village. Okay? And then you're telling us that it is the chief who has decided to name the facility after you. It's a facility for the chief. Meanwhile, do you know how many ex-players we have that have hailed from the Upper East region? Their most famous son is probably the most famous Ghanaian footballer of all time, Abedi Pele. You've managed the first ever facility the GFA has put together in the Upper East region. Mr. President has decided that they should name it after him. And he said it's the people of Winkogo who have named it after him. The people of Winkogo is the facility. Was it funded by them? It's like you have gone for, it's like maybe President Kufuor has gone for American money. Then you come and construct George Walker Bush Highway. Then you don't name it after George Walker Bush. Then you come and name it after yourself. I wouldn't even have blamed him if they named it after Abedi Pele or even Gianni Infantino. And look at this. He said he would do this for the National Women's League. And the things overlap. And that's why I'm going to the Premier League competition. One of the biggest problems we have in this country is our Premier League. A dead product. And Ket made promises of how he was going to revive it. Let's go through them. And we'll provide a marking scheme. Out of 16, from my analysis, he's only managed to do 4 out of the 16. And his term of office is ending in October. He didn't give a time limit for when he was supposed to finish this. So, autonomy, no Premier League autonomy. Good sponsorship, no good sponsorship. Good media rights syndication, no rights syndication. Improve the quality of fan experience. People don't even go. Go to Accra Sports Stadium, and then your stomach car you. You will run home. When you go to the stadium, there is nothing there for you. We're only selling the football. Nothing else around the football. So, improve quality of fan experience, 0. Create family-friendly stadia. Family-friendly stadia. Will you take your son or your daughter to the stadium?
Why?
Enhance the corporate image and brand of the Ghana Football Association. It has worsened. And get the police administration to create special sports policy. No special sports policy. Steward system. No steward system. Properly designated media centers. Hey, when I go to the Accra Sports Stadium, I can't even find a place to sit. That's Accra Sports Stadium. If you go to other places, the media, we stand behind the net and hold the net like this and watch the football from behind the net to go and report on it. You really think that it is all worth that risk? And when you do the match report and you come and post it, only 5 people have read the story. because nobody cares. Okay? Establishment of a stats department. They hired one person, Mo Shaban. He's the stats department. He's doing his best. But all he's doing is collating goals and assists. That's not what stats are. That's not what stats are. Goals, assists, yellow cards. Really? What about passes? What about chance creation? What about possession? Those things are what enhance conversations. And there are many, many stat softwares that can be purchased with a properly run department that can implement all of these things at our league centers to enhance our league. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's interested. Timely, free, and fair judicial adjudicative mechanism. We finished the league and we're still sitting on Kim Faisal case. Is that timely? Good coverage. Well, that's up to you to judge. Enhance existing revenue streams. The clubs don't have extra source of money. And you see, and it says including new media. They've created YouTube channels, the FA. And they're posting highlights there, and the YouTube channels is raking in revenue. The clubs, whose content they are posting there, do they have a share of revenue from the YouTube money? I'm asking you. Has the FA ever called you to tell you that the Premier League highlights and Division 1 League highlights we're posting on YouTube, we have this amount of money and this is how we are sharing it? They've created the digital media, all right, but are you getting the money? Okay? Introduce a merit award system. They did it for one season. This year has ended. I don't know where the merit system has gone. Provision of internet facility to the media. Hey, Daniel, you go to the stadium. Have you ever had free internet?
My network will cut. And I can't tweet anything.
You run commentary all around this country. Every stadium you've been there. Is there a single stadium in the Ghana Premier League where you've gone and you've received free internet?
No, there's nothing like that. Nothing like that anyway.
So on that score, Kent actually scored 0.
0.
Apart maybe the stewardship, they introduced the clubs couldn't maintain it, but they trained them to introduce it. To be
evaluation is a key part of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, National Women's League clubs, same thing. Okay, now this is funny. Okay, this is what Kent said he was going to give the Premier League. He said he would upgrade every Premier League's match venue. Look, the pitches. He said he would personally upgrade. The FA will help upgrade the training pitches of Premier League clubs and the installation of borehole facilities. The borehole facilities is happening. The idea behind it is to make sure that there is water to water the pitches. But when you watch our league, do you see that the pitches are being watered? Supply of free computers for Ghana Premier League. They're giving every club free computer. So 2 is correct. 3, supply of free training for coaches. They organize some refresher courses for coaches, but it is not universally free. If you promise universal free, you must provide universal free. 30 pairs of football boots. That's what he has fulfilled by sharing boots. 30 players, free registration. There is no free registration. So that's a lie. Provision of 35% of World Cup benefit money. Zilch, no World Cup benefit money. Access to club support fund, no club support fund. Supply of free internet facility. They gave each club 1 table net. Buy your own internet. Supply of 50 footballs for all Premier League clubs. They give them 10. Supply of 4 sets of training beds. Zilch. Free player registration cards for 30 players. No free registration. Access to the medical fund. No medical fund. And many more initiatives. I have not seen the many more initiatives. And that is what brings me here. National teams are everything. Now, this was Kent Okraku speaking in an interview in 2019 before the elections to TV3. And my good friend Yao Ovosilabi did that interview where he specifically noted what the issue was with our national teams and how he intended to fix our national teams. Let's take a listen to him.
Ghana football has a bad public image.
Yeah. But it looks like the Black Stars.
That includes the Black Stars. Yeah. That includes the Black Stars. And I think that we have taken a lot of small details for granted.
Yeah.
I would want to start the rebuilding of our various products from the beginning, from the grassroots. Over a period of time, the quality of our national teams, be it U17, U20, U23, the CHAN, the women's teams, would improve. And that will ultimately feed into the senior or the A teams of Ghana. Now, we want to put together a national team that is truly Ghanaian, a national team that will always look back and say that we are who we are today because of Ghana. Right. Okay, we want to put together players who truly represent the colors of Ghana and look at the badge, the crest, and say that I am a Ghanaian. Right. Okay, not players who come, unfortunately, to fight over bonuses. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that we shouldn't reward players when they perform well.
Are they rewarded astronomically?
It is important that we take one step back, right, and clearly look at our reward system when it comes to the national teams. I don't think that we commercializing the national teams is the way forward. Right. I think that players, officers who represent our country should feel, first of all, proud of representing our dear nation. And of course, if there's anything.
All right, let's not commercialize our national team. You know how monies were shared at the World Cup? It's become Black Starpreneurship. People use the Black Stars to make money. It shouldn't be. And you see, my good friend Aminu Shadu just sent me a message where he was indicating to me that the funds, the medical funds, central funds were all launched 3 years ago. So today, the clubs, and I spoke to a club official before coming on air, they have no idea what that is or how they have benefited from any of it. And you see, I have one view when it comes to the national teams, and you had Kev there. He said our national teams was at an all-time low support for it. They launched some initiatives, bring back the love, but clearly we all know the love is far gone right now. At least in this very moment, the national team stinks. The national team, especially the Black Stars, we have been made clear from the very beginning to the last by the FA, by the ministry, that it is funded completely by the Ministry of Youth and Sport. The Ministry of Youth and Sport is not a business entity. It's a government agency whose funds come from the taxpayer. It comes from my pocket. So any money that comes from my pocket or any other person's pocket that goes into paying people, I think we should have a responsibility of knowing that the people that are serving in these national teams are qualified enough and deserve to be there. That every Ghanaian feel like they have an equal chance. Because why would we conduct interviews for national team coaches, for the Black Stars, but every other position we don't care? And that's why now there are rumors or there are allegations that of nepotism, that they're fixing their own people there. And the people may be competent, but when the other people outside don't feel like they have an equal chance, there is a problem. That's where you have to recognize that there is a problem. And I made this point the other day on radio, and I repeat it here. Aminu Shadu is team manager for the Black Stars. He's my very good friend. He's a brother. He's been working in that position since the last international break. In fact, since the last 2 international breaks. There is no official announcement of his appointment. You think a position this important, somebody is working there full time, you wouldn't announce to everybody that he's the one that has filled the role. We have to see him working. What are you afraid of? You understand? And you see, during the normalization committee, there were subcommittees that were ad hoc committees that were formed. One of them, and a key part of the ad hoc committees, was actually the National Team Reform Ad Hoc Committee. It was chaired by Dr. Patrick Ofori. Frank Edu Jr., the former MD for Carbank, was a member of that committee, a highly respected businessman. These guys sat down and came up with a document on how our national teams should be run. And I've picked some key aspects of that document just to show you. And this was before the elections, and this was adapted and could have been used, and this could have saved us an awful lot of what's going on right now. Look at the governance structure. They recommended the formation of a national teams board and a national team secretariat. We don't have a national teams board. And they said that should replace the management committees. And yet we went to the workout with management committees and paid a lot of people money. National team technical coordinators, national team finance, research, training and development, national game football development, welfare officers, equipment facilities, and what have you. Executive secretary of the national teams, monitoring and evaluation department. We don't have a single one of these. They even made recommendations on what should be the backroom staff makeup of our national teams. And you have them, head coach, 2 assistants, goalkeepers coach, team doctor, fitness trainer. We went to the workout without a team psychologist. You see, it talks about welfare. And this place is really important to me, of how bonuses should be shared and how it should be determined. You understand? Now, senior national team players' bonuses is proposed to be allocated as follows. 90% of the money should go to the player, 5% to the player's immediate secondary or tertiary school. And you see, this had an eye on benefiting directly from where the player came from. That money, at the World Cup, they handed every player's money to them, 100% of it. Take. And the schools where, the tertiary schools or the secondary schools where the players came from got nothing. For you players, they said give 70% to the player, and 10% to the player's secondary school, and 10% to the player's club. You know? And they even recommended how call-outs should be made. And this is a key one. The new Center of Excellence in Pram Pram, it should have 10 pitches. And Keto Kriki himself promised something like that. But go to Pram Pram. How many pitches are there? So we have a big problem. And it's an essential problem that has to be solved. Now we've diagnosed what the issues are. Sicho and Daniel are here. They will tell us what we need to do going forward. And that's the next part of our conversation here on the show. So do make sure to give us your messages. I don't know what you think, but that's my one piece. The WhatsApp number 0551 575757, or tweet at me at Fentu_ or leave us with a hashtag #SportsZone, and we'll read those messages for you. We'll be back shortly. All right, welcome back. This is Sports Zone. We are on the last leg of the show. Your messages are welcome at 0551 575757 and the hashtag #SportsZone on Twitter. Leave us with your messages, and quite a lot of them have coming already. And I try to read some of them for you as we go on. But let me take initial thoughts from Sicho and Daniel. Daniel, let me begin with you. We spoke about what the issues are, and the issues are quite a lot. And already, of course, with the exit of the Black Meteors, in the last 16 months alone, there's never been one time where you've had joy from any of our men's national teams in particular. Where are we in terms of the problem? And where do we go from here?
We're right at the bottom. We are... These problems started a while ago. But even then, we could sort of cut corners and still get some good results. But this time around, we've reached the bottom. And if we don't sit up and quickly fix the problem, we'll be in serious trouble. And this is just going to continue. It is no coincidence that it's happening across board. It's not just men's football at all levels. It is women's football also. It is club football, because when our club sides go out there, they are constantly being embarrassed. It's just sad, and it's telling on where we've reached in terms of Ghana football. For me, what hurts the most is the fact that the football people know the problem. They know how to fix the problem. They just don't want to. Because you can't tell me that you are in such a high position, you've gathered so much experience in this sport, and you sit there and you are clueless about how to fix the situation. You are not. You know exactly what to do, and you've just decided not to do it, because probably it's not profitable enough for you. So that's really what hurts, because at the end of the day, as you said, it's our money that is paying them, and it's our hearts that get broken. And the interesting thing about football is, look, you can lie to yourself and say you don't care anymore, but once it becomes a national issue, once you see your team out there and they're playing your national anthem, you can't help but want them to succeed. You want them to succeed, yet it's not happening.
Yeah.
And that's what is painful. The fact that it's not Black Stars who is coming up against Man U, and you can choose to support either one. It is Ghana coming up against a different country.
Yeah.
And because you love your country, you want your country to do well, yet a group of people have just decided that they will not allow the country to be successful by doing the right things. And the painful thing is that there are examples of countries on the continent that are doing the right things. It costs money. They've put money down. They are doing the work and they are reaping the benefits. I always say it is not a coincidence that the things are happening for Morocco the way they are happening. It is not a coincidence that things are happening for Senegal the way they are happening. For Mali, for Guinea, for these lesser known countries who are now beginning to make an impact. Well, especially when they come back against us, they are beating us. They are beating us because they are putting in the work.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, it's quite unfortunate. We are not the powerhouse that we think we are anymore. It is just a fact. We are not. Frankly speaking, if you look at the body language of the teams that face us across board, they are not afraid of us.
No.
Yeah.
The fear factor is gone, and that is a scary thing. When you lose the fear factor, that is the beginning of the end. And if we don't sit up and try and get it back, look, I don't know.
You know, I have a very important question. Now, I remember you spoke yesterday on Joy FM where he said that the ESCO must convene a meeting immediately to try to fix the problem. If you're in that meeting, where do we begin? How do we begin to fix the problem? Because it's multifaceted, but I see it from just two angles. We need to find a way of halting the current road, and then another way of investing and building for the future. How do we do the first? How do we do the second?
I think the first point, if they are going to converge and have a meeting about where Ghana football is, it would have to be the purest of honesty amongst them. And that is the genesis of the problem that we've got at our football. It's the dishonesty with which we treat the game with. You have people finding answers, excuses for our recent failures. You have people who are supposed to be in charge actually blaming other people but themselves for the failures of our football. If you're not honest enough to accept that our game is dying, some people have said dead, that we are not doing well across board, so there's a problem with the way we run our football. We can't even start tackling it. Because when you I've never heard key figures at the FA speak about Ghana football with genuine honesty about the level at which we are.
So there's no admission.
There's no admission
of the problem.
And that is a serious matter. That in itself is a serious matter. When you hear them speak, it's almost as if every other person looking at Ghana football from the outside sees something different from what they see from the inside. Yeah. But there are so many excuses. But the point is, the results across board, it quite clearly exposes the job that we are doing in Ghana football. And there's one key thing in football. It is not tactics, it is not system, it is not funding. But when the people that are supposed to support you don't back the team with their hearts, you won't be successful.
Yeah.
They shouldn't take that for granted. I don't know the scientific proof to that, but across board, I've seen since football is football is sum. You see, since the Brazilian national team became a political tool.
Yeah.
Since a political party decided to use the Brazilian national team colours or jerseys as a political tool, they've gone 20 years without winning the World Cup. Right? Since Germany had its own internal problems with players, some from Turkey, racism, blah, blah, blah. Have you seen a German team? Since it became like it is Ghana versus the GFA, have we seen our national teams?
Yeah.
So we need to go back to the basics. Ghanaians are not asking for so much. Ghanaians are not, listen, between 2006 to 2015 or 2017, Ghana didn't win anything.
Yeah.
But Ghanaians were happy because at least you were trying. You see, Ghanaians are not saying go and win under 17, under 20, under 23. No. Ghanaians were complaining
Just
about the
don't
fact
be
that
embarrassed.
don't be embarrassed and show a certain level of commitment while you work.
Yeah.
But when there is a posture of
or a semblance of structure, at least let's see that.
let's see something working. Right? It isn't. Now, when they sit as the FA,
Yeah.
and I like something that Kurt said when we were playing the interview from, credit to TV3 for that interview. He said he wants to go down to the bigs and tackle it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I'm tempted to believe what the ex-president Mahama said, that sometimes when you've not occupied a position, you don't really know what it means.
You don't have a right to speak.
And I have a genuine feeling that, listen, the people at the FA, like for everybody watching us tonight, they are not stupid.
Of course.
We have some of the best brains in football running our football. But when they get into the space, it's almost as if they straight away lack the know-how to run it. So,
Or isn't it the case that they perhaps benefit from the chaos, so there's no need to fix it?
as for the benefit, they do benefit from it. I mean,
So if we are benefiting from the chaos, what would be the motivation to fix it?
no, but the point is, they are not making more money from these problems than they would have made if they did football well.
True.
Do you know why?
But the football money, the football money, isn't that a long-term project? Nobody seems to have time for long-term.
No.
Isn't that a factor? Because
is a factor.
like that national team document that was presented, it recommended the formation of a national team board with a secretariat to run our national teams.
Agree.
Limited resources, concentrated, dedicated service. It replaces this management committee.
Listen, you can have management committee is not the reason why we are failing. We can have a management committee.
No, I'm just talking about.
But it's a waste of money.
Yes, I'm just talking about the chaos.
So we can have management committee and pay them reasonable amounts of money. You see, so the management
and
committee
still not throw bundles of money around.
Absolutely. So the management committee is not a problem. I've never thought it's a problem. That management committee, I've never thought it's a problem.
Yeah.
What is their peculiar task anyway that will make its national team fail or be successful? I don't think they are significant in the successes of it. But my point is, in fixing the football, when you talk about starting from the business, it's not by words, it is by deeds. And I wonder if, as good as they are, as I read them, I wonder if they know the know-how as to how to organize or build football from the scratch. It's almost as if when they get to the office, the problems are so many, they don't know where to start from.
Right.
This is where you need to bring people who are experts at specific things. Those who manage grassroots football, they might not be good enough to manage your league. Those who manage your league, they might not be good enough to manage grassroots football. But when you go to the FA, it's almost as if everybody is doing everything some.
And you see, we have a club licensing system. And every year, every stadium looks worse than the year before. So what exactly are we implementing?
No, but you see, as for that one, let's not go there. Because if the club you see, we are friends.
Isn't that part of the problem?
No, it's a problem. But if the club licensing committee says they will not register any,
Who play football in this country?
That one goes to the government.
Straight up.
That one goes to government. They've promised us 10 multi-purpose so and they've been 90% complete since 2017.
So that's exactly where I'm getting to next. Okay, let's look at investment at the grassroots level and then coaching. And it feeds into the two problems that I talked about.
Right.
The immediate, how we can halt the immediate rot and downturn, and how we can invest for the future. In fixing or halting the rot right now, coaching, player selection, player identification, these three things are crucial. Let's look at the coaching aspect of it. Apart from the Black Stars and the Black Queens, every other national team in Ghana is coached by a Ghanaian. And all of the rot has been from every single level up to the very top. So we have local coach. Take the under-17. Pakwesi Piven, one of the biggest brains in this country when it comes to youth football. And he was disgraced in Cape Coast. Take the Chan team, Arnold Walker, and Professor Ogum.
Ogum was a league winner.
One of the finest brains in our coaching system. They went to the Chan and they got embarrassed. Tanko is supposed to be a German tactician. He's gone with the team. They played terrible football. You have no idea if this team was the same team that actually beat Algeria in the qualifiers. And there were players in that team that you thought, how did he find himself here? So how do we fix that problem?
I thought the problem with the coaching, and I've said it for like 2 years, right? All these coaches you mentioned, they're part-time coaches. And it's not a daily job. You can't be a good coach at any level in a serious football country and have it as a part-time job. Their job is to go the Meteors coach for the next 4-year cycle should be scouting players that are eligible to be playing the next 4 years to qualifiers. They cannot have it as part-time. All of them are managing their clubs. Tanko was busy with
and they don't
Lions.
pay salaries.
They don't pay salaries.
They don't have contracts.
Now, this is what you do. If you like, advertise the Meteors job under 17, under 20, and tell whoever would apply that you won't be paid. And look at the caliber of coaches who put in their CV. You will
Probably
not have,
nobody.
Absolutely. You will not
Who
have
wants to
any
do a
good
job
coach.
without salary?
Yes. So the point is, we can talk about coaches all we want. Last time I tweeted something. It is not a Tanko problem. It is not the players' problem. It might not even be the GFA problem. It's a national systemic problem.
Yeah.
You see, Tanko can be as good as he wants. But when you spend 4 months, 2 months, 2 weeks to prepare a team for a qualifier, to prepare a team for a tournament, you are not better than a country who has a coach working a 4-year, 2-year cycle to build a team, call players, watch them, drop them, play friendly matches, and come to the tournament. So it's not as if Tanko is not intelligent. He might be, but he doesn't have the tools to work because he doesn't even have the time to work. And we did the same thing at the World Cup, Botoado.
Yeah.
He was exposed big time. We did the same thing to Anowoka and Ogum. Anowoka was trying to win league with the Olympics. Ogum was winning the league. Right? Tanko was avoiding relegation only a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he has to prepare a team. So I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Until we give premium attention, you see, I don't understand how people think that the national team is more important than the 17. Listen, when you're going to the 17 tournament, that tournament is as important as the main tournament for the big team. Yeah. Because the 17 team can play in the World Cup. They are too young. So you have to treat that tournament as serious as you treat the national team. Why would you pay the national team coach a full-time coach's money and then pick an under-17 coach who's a part-time coach? What kind of result do you want to get at that level?
We have the system. We have the system turned upside down, because elsewhere the best coaches and the most committed coaches, where the most investment goes, is actually at the grassroots level.
Yes.
In Ghana, we have the whole thing turned around, upside down, and including, and you talked about the systematic problem, including our education.
Yes.
We have the worst teachers in primary schools.
Yes.
And the best teachers want to be in secondary school or university. Who should train and give them the basics at the most fundamental part of their development? That's when we have the worst teachers. You go to a lot of the private schools. Apart from the top ones, a lot of the private schools, the teachers they pick are those who haven't been to training college, are people who have just come out of secondary school. They're paying them 500 Ghana cedis a month, and they're the ones working their backsides up and trying to educate children and giving them foundation. Yeah. And some of them might not actually have passed their BSc. I taught KG1, KG2 after I finished secondary school. What kind of teacher training do I have to be teaching KG1 and KG2 and primary 1 and primary 2 children?
Now that's the matter.
That is the fundamental, the most basic aspect of it, where we should give them the best.
Yeah, you might be intelligent. You might know the subject matter. But it doesn't mean you are an expert in teaching at that level.
Yes.
So we can look at Pakwesi Fabian and look at him and think he's a very good coach. Is he an expert in?
But maybe he's not a good youth coach, or he's not a good senior coach.
So a coach like Pep Guardiola might not be able to manage at an under-17 level, because as good as he is,
levels to this,
he might not be an expert.
It requires maybe a certain level of patience,
a certain level of gradual process in getting your. So the bottom line is, we need to start from the basis, and we need to be humble enough to accept that this point or where we are is a terrible place. And as you said in your presentation, brilliant, it might be worse.
Let me read a few messages, and it's not a few. I've got hundreds of messages here, but let me see if I can get a few, starting from what has come through on WhatsApp. Okay, this one says, hi, Fed. Good evening to you and the team. Honestly, we are clueless as a country regarding the management of our football. Our technical direction is being detected towards a directionless direction. We are doomed. It doesn't seem like this is getting any better soon. My regards to Sicho and Jamila's friend. That's from Ben in Nungwa. This message says the problem is Ghanaians' mentality that we are supreme in football in the world. So we take every defeat as disaster and start finding excuses and blame game. Brazil have not won the World Cup for 20 years, even losing to Senegal recently. Are they taking it that their football is dead? If we don't stop this mindset of thinking we just have to turn up and win games, we'll continue with this playing games every time. That's Kofi in Kaswa. Good evening, Fent. and says, A.K. Kanu, this is Jeff from who. Anytime you talk about this, our football people, they will say you are against them. Until these football people stop calling their unqualified players to the national teams, our football is not going anywhere. Bring back coach football and we will bounce back. Everybody with their own solution. Lambert from Dodowa says, I wonder what the coaches thought these are and the 20 players are. Such a poor showing at the tournament. Sometimes I wonder why I couldn't play football to the highest level as a player. One thing we were taught was being aware of things around you. The ball, the number 15 guy headed, that led to the goal. Could have been avoided if he was aware of what was around him. He would have left that ball to safety. You assisted a goal with a useless cross that was going nowhere. The clue in the selection of players to our national teams is just too much. Let me read some more. This one says, Sports Zone. Okay, you were complaining about the sound, but I hope that has been fixed. First of all, friend, your presentation, you hit the nail on the head. The two, some of your colleagues avoid because of the perks they get. First of all, the cartel called the GFA should be disbanded and the laws change, and that require you to own the club in order to be president. I think that has been changed already. Second of all, youth development is key. England has England schoolboys, which send out star players. The Spaniards have their own, and the Germans too. It creates natural cohesion in our teams. Ket should pick the right people by merit and stop the sale of cartels and agency players. I don't know. Until we do the things, we will get worse. Thanks, friend, for your time. Fifi IT in Hacho. With that message. One more. Ket is... no, I can't read that. We don't encourage personal attacks. Let's attack the issues. And then talk about where he is going wrong as head of the Ghana Football Association. But no personal insults or anything of that sort.